What's up, everybody? Welcome to a PlayStation Conversation. I'm Greg Miller, and this is the pride of Long Island, the sleepyhead, Colin Moriarty.
Sorry, Greg, I was just taking a nap.
It's been a long weekend for you, Colin. But while you were out, living it up down in San Diego, we got an email. It says, Dear IGN team, my name is Andrew Murphy from England. As I get older, 25 this year, I find myself wanting more than just beautiful graphics and realistic physics engines in my video games. I find myself wanting a great, engaging storyline which evolves the characters and makes me feel I am there. I recently finished the Walking Dead series by Telltale and absolutely loved it. I'm hoping you could recommend 5 to 10 video games for the PS3 which you think have great storylines. Of course we can, Andrew. That's what we're here for. We just sit around waiting for questions like this. Colin, let's each do 5.
Okay.
You lead it off.
All right, Greg, I'm going to start with 3 games, and I'm going to bundle them into one cheat a little bit.
Oh, I like that.
So this
I like
list is going to be a lot. We're going to talk about the Resistance Trilogy by Insomniac.
Okay.
Now, Resistance, it's a series that I talk a lot about. I very much enjoy this series. It's a first-person shooter, PS3 exclusive. All 3 of them are on PlayStation 3.
Right.
You can actually buy them all together in a bundle if you wanted to. And this game's really atmospheric. This game's really dark. In fact, it's known for being darker and more dreary the more it goes on. Things don't get better until the very end of the very last game or whatever.
Right,
so if you ignore the Vita version of the game, not very good. You play the PSP version, though, by Sony Bend, and then you play the trilogy on PS3, you're going to get a great story starring both Nathan Hale and Joseph Capelli. They're fighting an alien race called the Chimera, who aren't really aliens, but I won't really spoil that for you.
Play the games.
Yeah, just play the
Figure
games.
it out. If you're cheating, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say then the Uncharted Trilogy, the PlayStation 3 Uncharted Trilogy, 1, 2, and 3. Great games. I feel like the Uncharted ones are a lot like your Raiders of the Lost Ark, your Indiana Jones movies. You could jump into Uncharted 3, enjoy the Sully and Drake drama there, the buddy cop drama kind of stuff. But if you played all of them together, you get a better sense of the story. Uncharted, like its strength, right, is characters, is just loving these characters. You love Nate. You want to see him get together with Elena. You don't understand Chloe with her ass. What is she doing? She's all over the place. And then Sully, El Goddamn Dorado. It's what you want.
It is what you want, just generally, not even in video games.
No, just in anything. You go to KFC, you're like, give me Uncharted.
Very good. I'm going to take it in an opposite direction, go on the PlayStation Network, talk about Journey. Now, Journey doesn't really tell a specific story because it's really about what you want it to be about, and that's what the game's strength is. It was, of course, our game of the year on IGN last year. It's only about 2 hours long. I only played it once, and the reason is because I wanted it to mean what it meant to me the first time through. I didn't want to see it again.
Right.
This game actually, and Greg will tell you because we live together, actually made me cry. I don't really know why. I don't really know why the game made me cry. It's just very emotional. It's a very emotional experience, and Journey is a game that everyone should play, not only for its story, but because it's really just a special game generally.
You want to be on the PlayStation Network? I'll stay there and say the Unfinished Swan. This is a runner. It was a runner-up for Game of the Year. It was in our final for the Game of the Year last year. It's from Giant Sparrow. It's this really I kept describing it right as when I was playing it, I felt like I was wrapped in a blanket drinking hot cocoa. Like it's a storybook you're slowly going through, and it's the story of this orphan Monroe and him journeying into one of his mother's unfinished paintings, what it means to him. And it's another story where it's very emotional, it's very touching. You connect with this character, and you want to see what's around that next corner so you understand a little bit better his grief.
Indeed. Greg, let's bring it back. There's a new game out in this series now, but I'm going to go back to 2007. I'm going to talk about the original Bioshock.
Now, would you kindly?
I will kindly talk about it. Don't spoil it for them now, Greg. But the original Bioshock is just a really special game. It's a first-person shooter, but it really isn't. It's a survival horror game set in the first person. He plays a character named Jack. He's going to an underwater city called Rapture, and he's after a dude, at least initially called Andrew Ryan, which is a play on Ayn Rand, one of my favorite authors, and really the inspiration for Bioshock's sort of objectivist dog-eat-dog world, basically, that they've constructed. Rapture is probably one of the coolest environments in video game history, and Bioshock's just an amazing, emotional, atmospheric game. Everyone should play it. Check out Bioshock.
You went to the past, I'll bring to the present. I know when we first saw Bioshock Infinite, there was a lot of concern, right? Because in Bioshock, protagonist you're playing as silent. You know, you're there processing it. This one voiced by Troy Baker, friend of IGN, and it's one of those things where his interplay with Elizabeth, I think, makes for this really compelling story where it's one of those things, there's a few ones at the end, these battles I get into where I was like, ready to spike the controller, but I never wanted to walk away because I had to know what was happening. It's telling the story that's ramping up, ramping up, ramping up. And there's a part in the game where you've played Bioshock, you played Bioshock games in general, you need to be going through trash cans and luggage and just searching nonstop. And there's this part in the game where it's like all of a sudden, F that, I'm sprinting, I need to do this. And it's doing it as it's pulling you with this narrative. It's excellent.
I'm excited. I haven't beaten it yet.
Yeah.
So don't spoil it for me either, Greg. I'm going to go back to last summer. Last summer was a good summer, I guess.
Okay.
We're going to talk about Sleeping Dogs. Now, of course, Sleeping Dogs is really one of these special games that was under a lot of people's radar. It was originally a true crime game. it was kind of caught in development hell. Square Enix took it, United Front over in Vancouver were doing the game. They took the game, finished it up. It's an awesome crime drama set in a third-person open world, kind of like Grand Theft Auto, kind of like Saints Row, but very serious. The game's crux is that it's actually really serious. It's about an undercover Chinese-American cop named Wei Shen. He's trying to infiltrate the Triad. It's got choices. It's got a lot of exploration, a lot of deep, meaty gameplay. The game actually sold really well, too, a lot better than we thought it did, which I'm really pleased about because it's a great game. Check it out, Sleeping Dogs.
All right, my next pick is Dead Space 2. Now, Colin, you and I argue all the time on Podcast Beyond, the #1 PlayStation podcast, about Dead Space versus Dead Space 2. I think Dead Space 2 is a better game, but for sure, I think Dead Space 2 had the better story. Because we have all these games all the time, like Tomb Raider or Uncharted, where Drake kills thousands of pirates, then he just winks at the camera and walks away, and there's no repercussions to it. Dead Space 2 opens with Isaac, our protagonist, in a mental institution. The first game broke him because it's him fighting these horrible necromorphs and these horrible monsters, and we get to go with him as basically he's on this psychotic journey in his own head, right? Like the most interesting part of Dead Space 2 is Isaac talking to his dead girlfriend, Nicole, and what does this mean, and how crazy is he, and what is the right decision? And it's one of those that kept me on my toes and made me want to keep coming back to replay it and try to catch a little nod here or a little nod there, understand the characters more.
It's funny, Greg, because I go on a psychotic binge every once in a while myself, so I can really relate to that Dead Space game. My final game on our list is Spec Ops The Line. Now, I talk about Spec Ops a lot, too, because I really think it is the most chronically underrated and underplayed game of the entire generation, bar none.
Yeah.
And it's because it has a terrible name. It should have just been called The Line. But nonetheless, Spec Ops The Line is not the bro shooter you probably think it is. It's actually a really emotional, really well-told story about a future Dubai in which a renegade army colonel and his troops basically take over this dilapidated version of Dubai, and an American soldier you play, John Walker, goes in and tries to solve the problem. The thing is that you're making really awful decisions, and as the game goes on, you actually start to hate the character you're playing as. And it's really a very different game. The story is amazing. It's got choices so you can play it twice. I think Spec Ops is really a fantastic game, and I'm sad that more people didn't play it.
I hear that. That's what my game's all about, too. My final pick for you, ladies and gentlemen, is the game I called the Game of the Generation at PAX East, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. It was a PSP game, but you can play it now on PS3 as part of the Metal Gear HD collection. Metal Gear Peace Walker to me is the antithesis of Metal Gear 4. I love Metal Gear 4, but to play Metal Gear 4 and truly love it, I think you need to have played everything else, so you get every reference and you understand the story and you want to see the conclusion. Peace Walker is a great story, period, for anyone. Never played a Metal Gear game, you can jump into Peace Walker. You are this guy, you're big boss, you're leading up this, renegade, ragtag group of army guys, and you're still reeling over the fact that your mentor was a defector, and you don't understand why, and suddenly this voice of this mentor who's supposed to be dead gets brought to you on a tape recorder, and you are immediately, I have to go on this mission, and I have to find out what's happening. And everywhere you go, there's these twists and turns, but in non-traditional Metal Gear fashion, the twists make sense, and you can keep up with them, and they make sense.
Lale-Lule-La?
The Lale-Lule-La-Lule.
Let's just leave it there.
Let's just leave it there. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question you'd like to see IGN answer, send it to us, beyond@ign.com. We get it. We make videos about it. We don't care if it's about Xbox. We don't care if it's about PlayStation. We will help you get the games you need. Colin?
Yeah.
For everything, about every cool video game everywhere, where should people keep it locked?
IGN.com.
IGN.com, Beyond.
Yeah.